They may have had someone who was talking to them in the campaign, but the focus here, and as it was with the intelligence community, is not on the campaign per se, but what the Russians were doing to try to instantiate themselves in the campaign or to influence or leverage it. So if there was someone that was observing that sort of thing, well, that's a good thing because the Russians pose a threat to the very basis of our political system. And I think it's hugely dangerous if someone like that is exposed, because the danger to that person, not to mention the reluctance of others to be informants for the FBI. And the FBI gains a lot of valuable information from informants. So to me, this is incredible.
Former director of national intelligence. Yeah, that's pretty incredible. Oh, sure, it's fine to have a spy in the campaign of Donald Trump. Okay, can somebody please hand this man a copy of our Constitution? We do have a Fourth Amendment protection against unreasonable search and seizure. For what purpose, sir, was a spy an informant for the FBI within the ranks of the Trump campaign? Or do you really not have a problem with FISA courts and FISA applications, judges being presented information that's never verified, never corroborated, turns out to be full of Russian lies, the great irony of all of this, put together by a foreign national, which I thought was a bad thing to have an influence on our election. And not only that, you didn't tell the FISA judge that Hillary bought and paid for the lies against her political opponent in the lead up to a presidential election. And did I mention there was not only the original FISA application, but 3 subsequent applications? All right, they have been in the forefront of really breaking down the outrage that extends so far and so deep at the highest levels of the Department of Justice, at the FBI, in the intel community. Greg Jarrett, Fox News legal analyst, he has a book coming out about all of this, the Russia hoax, the illicit scheme to clear Hillary Clinton, frame Donald Trump. You can pre-order on BarnesandNoble.com. Sara Carter, Fox News contributor, investigative reporter. It was March 7th of 2017 when she and John Solomon broke the story that there was apparently a FISA warrant involved with the Trump campaign. It's taken us that long. And even Paul Ryan is now saying, all right, it's time to end this ridiculous witch hunt to Robert Mueller. Welcome, both of you. Well, I'm stunned by these comments of of Brennan. What do you think, Sara Carter?
Well, I can't even imagine that he would even dare say what he said. I mean, to think of saying it was okay to have a spy, an informant inside the campaign, and I wonder if they had any inside the Clinton campaign. Did they have any inside the Obama campaign? No, they did not. Sean, this is a setup from the beginning, and every time more and more information comes out, I think I'm more and more stunned, and especially at their own words. This is coming from John Brennan and James Clapper, both of whom weaponized the tools of our intelligence community to spy on incoming president of the United States, and even after, during the transition, because we know they unmasked so many Americans and at an expedient speed.
Didn't they unmask at a rate 350% higher in this presidential election year? And wasn't people like Samantha Powers doing about an unmasking a day of an American citizen? Which, why would a UN ambassador ever unmask anybody?
That's right. And more than 300 towards the end of her term. And that was Americans, those are people in the campaign, as well as foreign nations speaking about the people in the campaign. And I tell you this, Sean, I have one other really big question here, because we know a lot of this, the events that culminated, that led to the opening of this counterintelligence investigation into Trump's campaign culminated and began in England. I would like to know what the British think about this and what role the British had in this, because they must have had some role, because these people were all on their territory. And remember, there's quite a few still unanswered questions about the people surrounding George Papadopoulos. And if they say he was the beginning, well, then I have questions about the people surrounding him, like Joseph Misfit, like Stefan Halper, Alexander Downer, the Australian ambassador. What was going on there, and what was going on in England? These are questions that are still left unanswered, and I think there's more unraveling to do here.
Let me go to Greg Jarrett and let you weigh in on all of this. And the only reason now we know that we're even learning about the spy is because the IG report is only a couple of weeks away. And so the deep state that has known about the spy that was in the Trump campaign for the longest time, now Brennan actually saying it's a good thing, no problem, where's the warrant, and why the double standard? But I think this is all now a slow document dump on their part to take a lot of the sting out of the Inspector General's report, which likely will lead to criminal referrals.
Because so much of this activity in the Obama administration, whether it be Brennan or Clapper or Comey, McCabe, the list goes on, this appears to be classic abuse of power, which is a crime. 18 U.S.C. 242, deprivation of rights under color of the law. An official of the government is not allowed to use their position to violate the constitutional rights of citizens. And as you pointed out, it's the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable search and seizure, right to privacy by using an undercover agent to try to entrap people without legal justification to even open the investigation, either as a criminal investigation or a counterintelligence probe.
You pointed out the opening of this Russia probe had happened long before the so-called Papadopoulos meeting, when Strzok had just finished basically rigging the Hillary Clinton investigation, when we know they covered for felonies and obstruction of Hillary Clinton. Then they begin this effort under the guise that, okay, well, we're going to talk to, this Australian envoy who got drunk with George Papadopoulos, and we'll have like five-way hearsay here, and we'll start this witch hunt this way.
That was all a charade devised by the FBI to cover up their misdeeds, and they peddled it to the gullible New York Times. The truth is, it all began with Christopher Steele, an ex-British spy who's probably not ex at all. He composed on June 20th, 2016, the first dossier alleging Trump-Russian collusion. He then peddled that within weeks to the FBI. An agent met with him, and shortly thereafter, the FBI launched its illegal probe
can I interrupt you
Donald
because
Trump.
You reminded me the other night on television that in interrogatories in a case in Great Britain, Steele is on the record admitting himself he doesn't think his dossier is true.
That's true. It took a while for me to dig up these interrogatories because they're in a British court over a libel lawsuit.
Yeah, by the way, that's what we all do in our spare time. Every one of us, we go dig up interrogatories in Great Britain because we're bored and we have nothing else to do.
Well, I know how to read them because I used to propound interrogatories.
By the way, you're doing it because this is how great your book is. I'm totally being a jerk. Tell me to shut up.
Well, it's in the book, and I quote his answers.
Hannity's a jerk. Great. Oh.
No. I quote his answers to the interrogatories in which he essentially admits, well, this is raw intelligence. Not all of it's accurate. It's 50-50. This is a guy who launched the Trump-Russia investigation that tried to bring down a president, and frankly, he was just making most of it up. And now he sort of admits it.
What's your take on all of that, Sarah? Go ahead.
Oh, but I think you're right on, Greg, but it goes so much further because remember, he was connected to people inside the United States intelligence community and the FBI, even before he put the dossier together, before he was hired by Fusion GPS and the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC. This is somebody that they knew. So the question here is this: did they utilize him to do this? And I think more and more we are seeing that to be the case. So they hire Christopher Steele because they've already known him. They already have a relationship with him. Let's not forget about Sidney Blumenthal and Cody Shear and the people at the State Department that were very well connected to Christopher Steele and Cody Shear's own dossier. I mean, if you look at this on its face, I mean, it really appears to be that this was something that was pre-planned. There was no evidence here that they stumbled on that required them to open up this investigation whatsoever. We have not seen 1 ounce of criminality, and that's why they had to open up this counterintelligence investigation. I think Andrew McCarthy was right on the money with this. They opened up this counterintelligence investigation because it gives them the latitude to weaponize and utilize our U.S. intelligence community to spy on the Trump campaign. And all of the pieces are starting to fall, and they're starting to fit, and it's starting to unravel, and now they're fighting back because they know this is all going to come out. And believe me, other nations who know what went on here, they know they were played too, and I guarantee you it won't just be us telling this story, but other intelligence agencies overseas.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back more with Sara Carter and Greg Jarrett, and we'll take a little sneak peek. Sarah's been digging deep and getting some insight into what is in the IG report that we are expecting. Continue Sara Carter, investigative reporter. Greg Jarrett, his new book coming out soon, The Russian Hoax, The Illicit Scheme to Clear Hillary Clinton, Frame Donald Trump. We have a link on Hannity.com, soon to be in bookstores. Sarah, you reported last night that this is going to be a very thorough Inspector General report. Here's my fear. It's already been handed to the DOJ. They now have a chance to look at it. They might try to redact information, again, in the name of national security. They're going to try and weigh in and change some of the Inspector General's findings, correct?
I don't think they'll be able to do that, Sean. And it's not just because I'm hopefully thinking that. It's because I believe the Inspector General has done such a thorough investigation into this. He is just presenting his report to these current and former officials, both in the DOJ and FBI, and then they will have a chance to respond. So what they'll do is they'll respond to this report, they'll make those attachments to the report, and if there is something of national security concern, I'm sure he'll take that into consideration before he releases it to the public. But I don't think it's going to change his mind on how he's presenting this report. I don't think there's anything they can do to that. Now, we're only speculating, so are people who have seen the report, people who I've spoken with, that there's a possibility that there may be a criminal referral from Michael Horowitz to the Department of Justice prosecutors. That's speculation. We don't know this now. He's holding this report very close hold. So it'll be about 3 or 4 weeks before it's actually made available to the public. But I really, really stress, I don't believe that the Inspector General is going to be swayed. I don't believe the Inspector General is going to change his mind. It's going to be very similar to the McCabe report, where they allowed Christopher Wray to view the report. And once he did, guess what happened? McCabe was fired, and now there's a criminal referral on McCabe.
Do you think that this goes all the way, or are they going to find some sneaky way to maybe protect the deep state? Greg Jarrett.
Well, they'll do everything they can to cover it up, and Rod Rosenstein's at the head of the class on that, and he receives the report from the IG under DOJ regulations. And, look, he's the guy who has fought and is still fighting to reveal information about the undercover informant that has already leaked out. And this is the guy who's going to get an opportunity to take a whack at the IG report before it's made public. I mean, that's like letting a dirty cop review and edit a criminal complaint against him in advance. It's corrupt. I don't think when these regulations were enacted that anybody ever thought there would be this kind of a scenario with a Rod Rosenstein enabled.
All right, I got to let it go there. Thank you both. You guys have been amazing. Sara Carter, Greg Jarrett.